there's sometimes when you can be at a table and there are rules that somebody's like, oh, I have to do my calculations and make sure I can carry this before I put it in my pack. And there are some times where you just don't want to mess with those kind of rules. So let's talk a little bit about rules that we like to skip.
Encumbrance is definitely a big one.
I think that was one of the greatest
trash.
ones because, like, one of my favorite D&D flavored video games has been the Elder Scrolls.
Yeah.
And a constant problem in that game is encumbrance. You get so much stuff.
So many cheese wheels.
And you can't walk, or you can walk, but you cannot run anymore. And it holds up your progress, and it's terrible. And I'm glad I don't know what that's like in actual D&D.
Right.
Seems like it'd be a complete pain in the butt.
So thanks to you guys, I've played Elder Scrolls a few times. And it wouldn't be so bad if the damn game didn't keep putting cheese wheels on the ground.
I know,
like,
because I
can't walk past this.
I have to get every cheese wheel. That's how I play Skyrim and Elder Scrolls.
It's
the cheese
like the
wheels are
game
mine.
as a conspiracy to fill up your backpack with crap.
Yeah.
So that when you get to the thing you really need, you're like, what am I going to drop on the ground here? What do you mean I can't drop it on the ground? I got to give it to somebody else?
Fuck.
How do I do this? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have found that in most D&D campaigns, encumbrance, who gives a flying, right? And you look at it, you look at somebody's character sheet, roll 20, it'll calculate the encumbrance for you if you're, not just manually inputting all the items, you're like dragging and dropping them. It'll calculate all that stuff for you. But why?
Why?
I could see it in games where they're like survival type games.
Gritty.
Like, I think, it's never really come up in Call of Cthulhu because it's not about accumulating things. But I could see where there could come a point where, like, you can't reasonably be carrying all that stuff. But in a D&D game where, it was about survival and trying to make it through the wilderness or a zombie apocalypse or something like that, where, the edge of the game is how little you have to actually help you survive and get through that. You want to bring those kind of rules back in, but those are very few and far between. The most you get like a couple of encounters that are like that. But if you were in a whole campaign that was about how bad the world is all around you and how ill prepared you are for it, then I could see bringing in some encumbrance stuff. But generally speaking, throw those rules out and just have some fun.
Unless you're trying to, like, carry a stone slab or, something stupid. I don't care how many,
it unnecessarily slows the game down.
It does.
Which is why I would like to bring up the next one, and that is ammo.
Ammunitions.
Right. Tracking how many arrows that you have. Well, the first thing I've ever done in a game where they tracked arrows was I went and bought a bunch of freaking arrows because they're cheap.
Yeah.
Right. So now we're overloading the encumbrance rules too, right? I've got 7,000 arrows. I think I'm going to be okay. But keeping track of them. And then after the fight, you always say, well, I'm going to go and collect my arrows, right? And, okay, well, let's see. And then invariably, the DM that is making you track ammo wants to, let's do some rolls to see how many of those arrows broke or didn't break. And, okay, we're slowing the game down on menial. Doesn't really apply to the game. But again, if we were in a survival type situation, the fact that I only had 3 arrows and one of them broke would be critical to the story. Yeah, I get it. But generally speaking, dungeon delving.
Like in Call of Cthulhu or in Titan Effect. Yeah, I track my ammunition because that is an integral part of like what's happening because I only have a very finite amount of ammunition. D&D, it just doesn't seem pertinent. Like, it's just...
It doesn't add to the fun. I think that's the important thing. Like, you could be looting a body. You could be creating a wonderful masterwork shield with your profession, but instead you're trying to track down 3 more arrows so you can actually fight.
Right.
It doesn't add to anything.
But in Titan Effect, Street Wolves, Call of Cthulhu,
They add to the
firing the
suspense.
last bullet in the clip of your gun,
Heightens tension.
it plays into the story, right? And it's not just...
Yeah.
And like you said, if you're running a gritty D&D campaign, I wouldn't say it's the best system for that, but to each his own. But it would actually work to have like finite ammo and then maybe work with the encumbrance and then have rules about eating and drinking and all that good stuff.
And then there would be long periods of time before you got somewhere close to civilization or someplace to replenish those supplies. But in D&D, there's a town around every boulder, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, we're going to go in this town. Where's the magic shop? Right? First question any player asks when you walk in town. Where's the magic shop? So you can constantly do. That's why I like the rule we came up with. Quit tracking ammo. Just every time you're in town, spend a gold piece. Just give the DM a gold piece, and
Bob's your uncle. You're full of
you've
ammo.
always got ammo.
And eventually we stopped with the gold piece because why?
Right.
It's a gold piece.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 easy ones, encumbrance and ammo. But what other rules would you like to just skip over?
I don't know that this would be considered a rule, more of a statute within the game. But I will never give my players any unit of money that's not a gold piece. If you think I'm going to fuck with silver and copper and electrium, you out of your damn mind.
That's fair.
You're not getting that shit. We aren't converting this bullshit. You're getting gold and you're going to like it.
Everything costs in increments of 1 gold piece.
Yep.
Yeah, I am with you there.
I fucking hate that
I am
shit.
playing in a game right now where silver, copper, electrum, gold, platinum is all in there. And the only time it feels satisfying is when you get a platinum piece.
Right.
Because it's worth 10 gold. That okay, cool. I found platinum. But other than that,
Trash.
When the DM says, okay, so you've defeated the dragon and his horde, there are 7,000 gold pieces. 620,000 copper pieces. I'm like, just freaking, move the decimal point 2 places and tell me how many gold that is.
That's normally what I do, but I do kind of feel like your mom and your sister might enjoy it more if I did it the other way, just because of how they are about taking notes. Maybe, but...
Well, Sarah would like it because she's the one who divvies up group treasure, and sometimes there's a remainder, so there's like this little tiny stash that just kind of always stays in
That's
group
always
treasure.
never been a problem to me. Like, if it doesn't divide equally, whatever's left
Leave it.
over is still in the group treasure pot. And we'll add to it, and the next time, maybe it'll divide out evenly. Maybe it won't.
And next time we're, needing some stuff from the local clergy members, throw it in the tithing pot, move on.
Right.
Like, I just can't deal with anything other than gold. I won't do it.
There
That's a good
was
one.
an interesting thing in the post that gave me the idea to run this. Somebody was saying that in their game, the rule about once you run out of spell slots, you can't cast anymore, they've done away with that. Once you run out of spell slots, you can still cast, but for every level of spell you cast, you get a level of fatigue.
So if I'm out of spell slots and I cast a 2nd level spell, I'm going to get 2 levels of fatigue, which means that I am at disadvantage on all skill checks and saving throws.
So you should know the fatigue rules.
And level 2, I think, is your movement's cut in half. That might be level 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not bad. I thought you were going to say it was like for every level you spend a hit point. So a 1st level spell, 1 hit point, a 2nd level spell, 2 hit points, 3rd level spell, 3 hit points. I think the fatigue is probably
You're only
a
gonna get
better
4
system because once you get up to be 5th, 6th level, it's like spending 5 hit points for a 5th level spell. That's underpriced.
Yeah.
It's way underpriced.
And once you get to a certain level of fatigue, you're fucking done. Like,
Dunzo.
what is it, 6 that you just die?
Yeah, I think so.
So there's a hard cap on it that way. It's not going to be too abused, but...
And really, you're only going to be able to abuse it once every couple weeks. Because you abuse it and you run your fatigue level up, right? Well, I think every long rest gains you back 1 level of fatigue. So if I ran it up to, I used 4 levels of fatigue. I got 4 days of sleeping. And in those 4 days, I'm only going to be able to use my spell slots. I'm not going to be able to use any, I guess I could,
but
drop it to 2 and back to 4. But I'm probably going to be like, I got to get this back to 0 because I'm sucking on every roll that I'm making. My movement is cut in half.
That would be, you're in the big bad fight, you've run out of spells, and it is, clutch or die system, and you're like, well, fuck it, I'm going to take the 4 levels of exhaustion to cast this spell.
I respect the risk reward for that.
Yeah, definitely.
And
I think those people that are worried will be overused. I think the fact that you have to work off that fatigue keeps it from being overused.
But if you happen to find yourself out of spell slots and there's somebody down and, well, I can't heal you. Okay, you can. It's just gonna take that 1 level of fatigue.
You're stretching your body past its normal ability.
I like that
I think it's pretty cool.
I was going to say one of the rules that I would love to not implement, but I didn't have a good workaround for was the whole spell slots thing. Been thinking about it a lot since you've kind of modified 5e to give the grandkids something that they can play and wrap their head around without being bogged down in rules. They can just have fun pretending and getting rid of spell slots. It's mostly at will, or a couple times a day kind of spell. So I think when you talked about it the other day, I was like, I want that rule in adult D&D too. I just don't care for the whole spell slot thing.
It's
and
confusing.
then, but if you cast this spell at 2nd level or higher, then blah, blah, blah.
It's too much.
But then you and I tend to shy away from magic users just because of the overall complexity. Anyway, so I may not be a good person to opine on this thing, but I think if that system you're just talking about, it would be a good middle ground between spell slots as they are and my desire to just get rid of all spell slots.
I was always surprised when we started playing that there's no mana. Like, in games and such, well, not in video games, when you're casting magic, you're usually using like a mana resource.
Yeah, you have a mana pool. Almost like key points. You have a pool and you can use them and they have different values and stuff like that. And that actually might be a really good way to kind of change it. It's like give each spell a mana cost. It costs 1 mana, it costs 2 mana, and you just, you have 20 mana for the day. That's what you got.
It's always seemed overly complex and incongruous. That
which is totally a word I know.
Doesn't line up.
Oh, thank you.
Capricious elephants.
So I've got 3rd level spells.
Oh,
they take 3rd level spell slots, but maybe I could cast them as a 4th or 5th level if I have those spell slots. 3rd level spell, 3rd level spell slot, and I'm 6th level. And I'm just now getting 3rd level.
Right, that's the part.
Why didn't they just...
Why do I get slots and I don't get spells?
If I'm not allowed to have this 3rd level spell until I am 6th level, could you not have just called that a 6th level spell? It's always bugged me a little bit. And I'm wondering now, we had that talk about, what all could be changed in a 5 to 5.5 edition, or what are we growing towards in the 6th edition? Because, by very nature of calling it 5.5, they're broadcasting that 6 is coming, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why would you call it 0.5?
Right.
I wonder if they're going to do something with that and bring in kind of mana. You play Magic the Gathering? Or are you familiar with it?
I'm familiar with it. I can firmly say that.
They don't mess with any of that, do they? Is there mana points in Magic the Gathering? Each card carries its own stuff, doesn't it?
Each card carries its own stuff. There are different types of mana. There's black mana, green mana, blue mana, and you form your deck around whatever color. It's sort of similar to the Pokemon cards where you'll have electric type energy. She has played Pokemon.
The reason I ask
is
is because
I was talking
Wizard of the Coast has Magic the Gathering and they have D&D, and we have seen over the last few years the
more and more crossovers,
the marrying of them. And so I was wondering, was there some kind of mana system over there? Because if you're thinking, what could they possibly do to D&D, you probably could peek over the fence at what's going on in Magic the Gathering to see what kind of ideas they might be coming up with.
I don't think you would want to go full on and have the different flavors of mana unless you're considering multi-classing, because you don't want that level of complexity.
I don't.
But just a simple mana per spell, I think, is pretty easy.
As you go up, your available mana resource goes up, and you recover them on rest. And then each spell has a cost associated with it. And I guess they could do that upcasting thing by just saying, for 3 mana points it does this, for 4 mana points it does this, for 5 mana points it does that.
But think of how cool it would be if there was like 2 different kinds of mana, like almost like a good mana and a bad mana. And like, you know, you got to flavor your character with how much mana pool you put in each one, so you could cast like dark necromantic spells and things like that, you know, pull from one kind of mana, and then the rest of them pull from a different kind.
If we found ourselves in a difficult situation because of that dark energy, we'd be in a bad mana jamma.
Bad mana jamma.
I don't
want to play that, but I think it would be kind of a cool system.
I'm not going to say it wouldn't be cool that way, but it would raise the complexity past the point that D&D has really been chasing. That
if they're going to go after changing up Magic, I think that their goal ought to be
simplification.